Iwata here with the Paint Spot and or Slicks. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and the last time I did one I showed you guys how to let a gun tell you where it wants to be set. And that actually worked out really well. I've used that many times for customers, but I don't have the time to get into a conversation, so I say, well, here, go here and watch it a million times. If that's what it takes, you'll figure out how to do it. And I got a lot of good feedback. As a matter of fact, there's never been a time that it didn't work, right? So what I didn't talk about last time is the difference between the guns. When we discussed the 8 to 10 pounds at the air cap, and then the diaphragm regulator and how to get there, and HVLP guns, high volume, low pressure, the whole premise of that was to get you guys to lower the air pressure, right? It occurs to me that there are a couple of guns that I've got sitting here, and it might, set some of you guys off. One of them's a DeVilbiss, and the other one's a SATA. I'm not a fan of either one of them. I really wanted to be a fan of the DeVilbiss, the new DB1, and it did perform pretty good on base coat, but it didn't perform very well at all on clear. We'll get into that in a second. There's things that are game changers, let's just put it like that. If your preference is a SATA over an Iwata, then all that I taught you guys is kind of for naught, because a SATA will not spray with that low of air pressure. If you remember when we did the LPH 400, we're saying 8 to 10 pounds at the air cap, and I told you that with the Wilkerson regulator or any diaphragm regulator, 19 to 21 pounds on the regulator gauge is 8 to 10 at the air cap. Well, a SATA won't behave like that, right? And so I brought one up here, and as strange as it is, I did have an NR3000 until last week, and a customer walked in and was making comments about it like he would like to have it, so I gave it to him for free. I have zero respect for a SATA, unless it's one of these guys right here. This is filthy dirty, so you know I use it. I use it all the time in Slicks. NR95, so it's circa 1995. This is back when they made these things with a really close tolerance machine fit, so that you could replace parts independently in here. They were no maintenance. They never needed anything, and this is living proof. I've got actually 2 of these, and I do use them quite often, right? When they changed to the NR2000, they also put a seal behind the fluid tip. So anytime you left lacquer thinner in the gun, it would swell that seal and screw it up. And you wouldn't notice it for a while because we tend to degrade with our gun. Us painters, I know I did. I've painted lots of years with these things, right? And then all of a sudden somebody would give me a brand new gun, maybe identical to the one I'm using, and holy shit, it was just painting so much better, right? So we tend to kind of degrade with the gun. So you don't notice that those black seals are bad. To keep a SATA optimal, you've got to change those things once a month. And that gets really damn expensive. So expensive that I quit carrying them. I quit carrying the tool to change them, and I just said I'm not going to sell any SATA parts. Somebody comes in wanting a SATA gun, I'll just send them somewhere else. I don't want anything to do with a SATA. And these things right here, you can't get parts for, so when I finally wear these things out, they're not going to be any good to anybody anyways. But the real problem with the SATA is not just that, it's the fact that they don't work on low air pressure. So you're wasting a lot of paint. You won't be able to achieve the kind of results that I achieved with the LPH 400, and it just doesn't make sense to have one of those things. Also, a SATA is more expensive than an LPH 400, so why would anybody do that, right? But the real kicker is here in Texas, and I gotta suspect that other places around the United States would be the same. It gets hotter than hell in the summertime. And let's say that you've got all your variables in check, you're clear coating something, you've got all the slowest chemistry that you can possibly get with whatever brand you're using, and there is no slower. And in the case of Matrix, I'm a big Matrix fan. I like to use the MS42. The speed of those clears is controlled with the catalyst, so there is no reducer as part of the mix. And for every percentage of reducer you do add to a Matrix clear, you'll lose that much in gloss. And I don't cut and buff anything. I teach people how to paint and get it right out of the boot, no cutting and buffing required, right? So that's a killer right there. So, because you could easily say, well, put retarder in it, right? Well, if you're going to cut and buff everything to bring the gloss back, I guess that's kind of fair play. But there's another way to extend flow, and that's with decreased air pressure. So that was the whole concept behind teaching you guys that little demo the last time. If you guys can trust me on this, an Iwata is just better than a SATA, and that's all there is to it. And I've been in front of the Germans and said this, right? It's just the way it is. If you can lower your air pressure, you'll instantly get more flow. to use like a matrix example here, MH008 is the slowest hardener they've got. It says very slow on the label. Well, it would be just lowering this 5 or 6 pounds would be the equivalent of having an MH009 or 0010. So that's how much you can do with it, right? You cannot do it with this gun, period, right? Now let's move on to the DV1. Cool gun, and I got it for practically a steal, I guess, right? And I really liked it. This thing really busts up metallic, puts it on the panel really even. But when I was painting a friend's car and I had to use this for the video, or I felt compelled to use it anyways, guess I'll leave names out of it. I wanted to go get my Iwata and finish off the clear coat so bad, but I couldn't. I had to endure with this thing right here. It just doesn't put out enough liquid. And in fairness to DeVilbiss, it might be because of the cap. I'm not into that air cap specific bullshit. If I buy a gun, I use it for everything, right? And when it won't work for everything, I don't like the gun. Don't want it. I don't change the cap on that SATA when I use it. I mean, I have to use a lot of air pressure, but I don't have to change the damn cap. This one, there was no coming back from it. So I don't like these either. Here's the one that I do like. You guys have seen this before. So this is the LPH 400, completely set up and ready to go, including the high flow fitting down there. That's a necessity. And that's the waterborne air cap, so no matter what's in this gun, it will go on the car beautifully, period. It's one-stop shopping. That's all you need. And you already saw it get lowered down to 10 pounds and do a beautiful job, right? That's the Wilkerson regulator. This is something new. It's an Iwata version of actually a SATA that came to my attention with a 1.2 fluid tip. It couldn't be really used for anything, so the gal that had it, I was going to buy it because it was an RM kind of design all over the thing, and it looked really cool. I was just going to put it up on the wall. And she decided to buy the little PPS system that went on it, because you can't even put a metal cup on it. And that's another thing I don't like. If you're putting plastic cups on one of these nice, beautiful guns, I think you're stupid, all right? And you need to stop. There's way too much plastic in this world. I can paint thousands, probably tens of thousands of cars with this one cup right here. Won't go bad until I drop it or do something stupid with it, right? You can only paint one car with those other ones. Stop using those things. All you're doing is increasing the cost of producing the paint job. So this one right here I went out and bought. You can't even buy them this way. I had to buy an LPH, this one here's a 300. And as a matter of fact, I could buy this way. This one did come with a 1.2, but I've been selling them to people, LPH 400 design. So I have to buy it with a fluid tip. So I usually get them with a 1.3, and I'll keep the 1.3, and then I have to buy a 1.2 setup, and then sell them that with the deal. But going to a 1.2 performs beautifully. Now you have to slow down a little bit because you're putting out less, but it basically looks like it's been cut and buffed at the application stage. Now I'll tie in a little video because I did, the very first time I ever did it, it came out totally tits. And so I'll give that to the person working the camera here, and she can put that in with this video, okay? Any comments or questions, you know how to get me.